Alright, hello everybody. So today we'll be talking about some of the good IDs that I want to recommend to the new players, as well as some of the combat mechanics that a lot of players have been asking for in the comments below. Right, so let's start off with the first one that I've seen, which is going to be, am I supposed to just be pressing win rate? Am I supposed to be matching colors? I don't really understand what's going on. So either you skip the tutorial or the tutorial just doesn't say it properly, right? So the things to note here is that each of the statuses in this game, burn, rupture, sinking, blah blah blah, all of them have a different affinity over here. The red one, for example, is very closely related with burn. The orange one is lust, is going to be related with the bleed team. This one's going to be tremor, blah blah blah, right? So the reason why we match colors in the end game, this is not a early game thing. We basically are just trying to activate passives. So there are two types of passives. These are the combat passives, the ones where the passive is active when the player is on the field. When this Rodion's on the field and fighting people with her skills, this passive is the one that triggers. And then we have support passives. These are the ones that trigger when she's sitting down in the bench. When she's sitting down in the bench, then this one will trigger instead, and her skills will not be used at all because she can't. She's in the bench, right? So this character here, the Burning Passion, requires 3 Wrath Resonance, while this little line over here requires Wrath Absolute Resonance, right? So what's the difference between these two? Resonance basically means as long as your attacks in that turn, you have 3 of them are red skills. It can be egos, it can be defenses also for red. As long as it's red color and you match 3 of them, it doesn't have to be in a row, it can be left, middle, right for example, and it will still trigger, then this passive will trigger. Right, but Wrath Absolute Resonance, that one requires 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. And some of these skills here, they require a certain amount to activate, and they also want you to go even higher, if possible, to get even more value out of them. So this passive is an example where if you can get 6 Wrath Absolute Resonance, then all of your allies get the Wrath damage up for their Wrath skills on that turn. That's just an example. There's also Owned, and Owned is going to be something that is very simple to understand. It's basically as long as you use 6 red skills and you are able to get the energy, you keep the energy every turn, unless you use an ego. When you use an ego, you eat the energy. So that's the only one that reduces your energy. Well, as long as you own the resource, then this passive will trigger as long as she's sitting on the bench for this case here, right? So as long as she's on the bench and you've used red skills from other characters 6 times, it can be in one turn, can be many turns, as long as you don't use egos too much, you maintain 6 and you get this passive activated onto your allies, right? So that's why we want to match colors. That's why we're looking for certain colors, either for egos, either for passives and whatnot. And that's why in this red team over here, this burn team, we want to trigger that, because burn team, there's a lot of Wrath skills, and we want those Wrath skills to have the Wrath damage up for the big damages, right? So that's how it is, and I want to now recommend that people don't go for status building. If you're a new player, you just cannot afford to actually build this kind of team comp. This team comp is really only used for speedrunning and for certain thematic runs in the mirror dungeon or in story mode if you are into that. Right. There are some players who will probably run some lore-friendly team and just try to beat the content, and that's totally fine as well. But this is mostly a for fun thing, because this game can be totally beaten by just using 6 very strong DPSs, and you have at least 1 sustained ego, and that will just help you to carry your entire game. Right. So this kind of team here is quite overkill, because this is really a specialized team that is focused on killing specific bosses that are weak to burn in particular, or you're fighting a boss who has a high resistance to certain damages, so you might as well true damage him by burning him to death. But it's not really true damage because he has some Wrath resistance and whatnot, but that one is another thing. It's a damage formula stuff. But basically, statuses are just to help speed up certain runs against certain bosses, so we just pick them accordingly, right? But now I want to introduce the concept of generalists. So this is going to be characters that are good whether they are used in their team or outside of their team, right? For example, if we look at LCE Faust, she's actually one of the best generalists in the game for Faust in particular, because this character has very good coin power and she's actually very self-sustaining, right? For every coin for every burn on herself plus on the target, which means that you can ignore the on the target and you just burn yourself, you get coin power. And she's very easy to burn herself because all you need to do is just use this skill 1 a few times and you will build up quite a bit of burn. You gain 7 burn every time you use this, and you also gain burn every time you hit with this. So basically, use this skill twice, you get a bunch of burn count on yourself and burn potency, and then after that, you will be able to get maximum coin power, and then this character just unga the bungas and just doesn't die, right? This character is very, very powerful, and she also has a dodge. That's another thing you'll see. A good character usually has a dodge in their kit, right? So this is one example of a very good generalist. She's very good in the burn team for application and stuff, but she's also just a very strong unit by herself because she just can ignore the fact that the enemy has a burn. She can just use the burn on herself to buff her damage, and her numbers are good, right? It's always about the numbers, always about the damage. It's 2 coin, 3 coin, 3 coin, but she has damage bonuses and she has coin power, and the clashing power of this character is 16. If you have the coin power plus 2, it becomes 6, 12, 18, 18, 22. Very, very high rolling skill. It can basically beat her ego if her ego does not roll hits, because it's a 19 only, right? So it has to be ego level skill 2s in order to actually be considered a very good clashing tool nowadays, right? And this character is one of the best for that regard. So now let's move on to the actually good IDs, right? The good IDs to recommend for you guys is definitely characters that can only be used at uptie 3, and then they get maybe a little bit better, or they just don't get better at uptie 4. Right, those will be actually one of the best IDs for you to use, because you're a new player and threat will be the biggest wall for you. It's not even shards, right? Because you can't even build the units even if you get them, because you have no threats. So make sure you do your threat dungeons every single day. That's the most important one, right? So let's start off with some of the characters that really function very well at uptie 3, right? The uptie 3 characters, we will just remove some of these first, because these characters, although they are usable at uptie 3, they really get their full power at uptie 4. But there are some characters that actually get most of their power at uptie 3, which is going to be these buggers over here. Right, at uptie 3, all of these characters here, okay, not you, sorry. Yeah, these 4 characters over here at uptie 3 basically get their full power already. You can actually leave them at uptie 3 for the entire game and nothing really changes to them, right? This character is going to be one of the best Unga Bunga characters in the entire game, even till this day, and he only needs uptie 3, because uptie 4 is a useless buff. It only buffs other people, it doesn't buff him, and that means that this character, through sheer raw damage, is able to just carry you through the entire content. If you want to understand negative coins, basically how it works is that if you roll hits, you will -4. So you want to roll tails instead. And if you can roll tails on every single hit on the enemy, it becomes 16, 16, 16, 16 for a total of 64 damage. And more coins equal more damage. This character's base minimum roll is going to be 16 -4, because every time you lose a clash, you -1 coin. So you lose 1 coin, 2 coin, 3 coin, last coin, 16 -4, 12. So that's going to be your base power, 16 is going to be your highest clashing power. This character, even if it says struggling with the skill 2, it just means that he might lose a few clashes, but then after that he will win the fight, so don't have to worry about him at all. The struggling is usually fake. This character has pretty high chances of winning most of his clashes with the skill 2 and the skill 3, and the damage output that he can do at low sanity is going to be very, very good. If you're worried that he will hit -45 sanity and explode, right, just remove the other 2 egos that you have over here, right, and then just make sure only the Zane is equipped, and he will basically just sit there for 1 turn, he will just think about life, and then he will come back and he will just Unga Bunga again. Right, so that is the explanation of this character here, and then all of these other characters here are also really, really strong characters. A tank character who has what, 3, 4, 4 coins, and very, very powerful character already at uptie 3. You don't need to actually go higher than that, but this character also gets a very nice passive to increase her blunt damage up. So if you see damage multipliers like this character is way stronger than she actually looks like at the start. Right, her clashing power is not that great, it's 15 and 16 only, but because of this thing here and her incredible survivability with the shield generation and her very big HP bar, she is going to be a very solid unit for you. Uptie 3 only required. Then we also have Rabbit Heathcliff, one of the best at uptie 3. Uptie 4 him is honestly just for fun. It doesn't really matter for him, right? This character just has what, 3, 4, 5 coins, even more than a Sinclair, right? And this character also has Frigidity, which is a very, very big damage multiplier. And some more, this character, Body Sack, gives you 3 haste. So that means you can go fast. And when you go fast, you get coin power. But being fast also means that you apply fragility first. And that means your allies get to benefit from the fragility. So he's basically buffing the entire team with big damage, and he's also dealing big damage. With the coin power at +2 after body sack, then you get a 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 23 in total. So this clashes, this kills, and this also applies fragility. A demonic move over here. Definitely one of the best characters just because of this one move over here. Even the skill 2 rolls a 16 with that +1 coin power and is a 4 coiner, and you also have a dodge. If you don't understand how dodges work, dodges just let you avoid damage, and if you can't win with a certain skill 1, right, you can just use the dodge. You won't really understand why you won that fight because there's some clash power, defense power, shenanigans. But basically, this skill here, this dodge, gets to ignore some of that shit. So that means that even though the enemy number is very high, the dodge button basically says, I don't really care, I'll just dodge it anyway. So most of the time, if you can't deal with it and it's not a very big number, then the dodge will probably manage to mitigate all of that damage that you might take. Right, so that's why dodges are generally quite good. These two don't have dodges, but their raw power is very, very good. And then Grippy over here is a solid unit, not super strong, not compared to LCE Faust, but she does have a dodge, and she does have a 16 on skill 2, and she adds a damage multiplier for all piercing and blunt damage, and her skill 3 and skill 1, they're kind of shit in terms of clashing, but still pretty okay damage because of 3 and 2 over here, and she gets to do some minus SP shenanigans which will help against certain enemies. Right, so this character is honestly not bad, but the main thing I want to talk about for Faust is that any Faust that you get, even 2-star Faust, this LCB Faust is also quite solid. Lobotomy Corporation Faust, I mean, right? It's because of Fluid Sac. Fluid Sac for new players, this is going to be very, very important for you guys. This Fluid Sac is one of the earliest healing eagles that you can get that also heals your sanity and also hits 5 enemies. This is a very powerful ego, and you should definitely get this ego because sustain at the start of the game is going to be quite rare to find, and this is one of the earliest forms of sustain to make your entire life easier. So definitely pick up this one, and you can use either this Faust or this Faust. They are temporarily pretty good, but try your best to get this LCE Faust because she's currently a season 5 unit, this current season's unit. So you should try to pick her up before she leaves. She's a very powerful unit. Uptide 3 is okay, not too bad. She has enough coin power to actually help you through most of the story, and she still has her dodge, and her dodge is very, very powerful. Right, so yeah, that's going to be it for Faust over here. And now we shall actually talk about some of the other characters that are better at uptide 4. Let's look at Yi-Sang. For Yi-Sang, the ring pointer list is absolutely one of the kings of this game. This character has 3 coins, 4 coins, and this one, even though it's a 1 coin, it has reuse coin. And reuse coin basically is a very broken mechanic. It lets you add more coins to the damage output. So this character, he clashes at 16, and then he has a little bit of extra power here if he's bleeding, which will help him to beat certain clashes. 16 is already pretty good, but this character, when his damage comes into play, right, the reuse coin here adds additional 2 coins to his damage. So it becomes 8, 16, 24, then 32 in total. So very high damage. It's actually a 3 coiner, and it does a way more damage than this 3 coiner over here. So this is a very, very strong skill if you understand what reuse coin does. And then the skill 3 is absolutely insane as well because of damage multiplier. If you ever see anything that increases your damage, it means that that character is probably a very strong character. And this character also has coin power, so it becomes a 23 rolling if you have all of this bleed count. Otherwise, your clashing power will be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 15 plus whatever bleed you were able to apply. No matter what, this character is still a very, very strong character in terms of damage, whether the clashing is good or clashing is not that good. Right, so yeah, the director himself hates this character and kills him every time he can. So yeah, you should just use that to tell you that this character is quite OP. Right, moving on, Molar Ishmael is a functional character at uptide 3 and a pretty decent character at uptide 4. It doesn't get very high amounts of power when you uptide 4. The reason being is that this character kind of got crapped in a way. She still has one of the best fragility applications in the game. It's just that this character, coin power wise, is not that good, but she does have one of the strongest dodges in the game. Like I said before, dodging against certain moves is hard to explain right now, but this basically means that because she has a 10 base dodge and other people, their dodges start at 4, right? Hers starts at 10, and 10 means that even if your sanity is low and you don't get +4, you still have 10 dodge, and 10 dodge is enough to dodge quite a lot of moves in this game. And if your skill 1 or 2 are losing, just dodge. You will somehow win, and you won't really understand why, and that's fine, but for now at least. This dodge is extremely powerful and will carry you through quite a bit of content, and the skill tree is a very strong ruling skill. It will roll 18 by default, and if you have tremor count of 5 on yourself, which you can get by using skill 1 and skill 2 a few times, then you can get +1 coin power for 6, 12, 18, 21, which is a very decent number. So this character, Uptie 3, the dodge is already at 10 base power, already quite functional. If you want to go for Uptie 4 characters, Uptie 4 requirement is Reindeer Ishmael, but Uptie 4 recommended is going to be Zwei Ishmael. She's functional at Uptie 3, but really pops off once you hit Uptie 4. Look at the coin power on this move and look at the damage multiplier on this move. If you're on defensive stats, 70%. Coin power +1 for every 4 up to 4. Yes, that is 4 coin power. It is 8, 16, 24, 29 in total with a 70% damage multiplier. And to get defensive stance, you just press your guard button, and this is a clashable guard. If you ever see a character with a clashable guard, that character is probably very powerful. Alright, that's just the general rule of thumb, because clashable counter was introduced a lot later. This one's clashable guard. As long as it's clashable in the name, it basically is a very powerful mechanic. It is something like basically turning your skill 1 into a superior move, and this superior move, it will give you something special. There will be some characters that have stuff like this, and you will see a lot of the really strong characters have something like a clashable counter or a clashable guard. Right, so this character, the defensive stance, it makes you unable to be staggered, and it lets you generate aggro. So people will try to hit you, and you are unstaggerable. You cannot be staggered by damage, which means you cannot get 2 times multiplier onto yourself, and that means it's very hard to kill this character. So even at Uptie 3, this character is already a monster because she can't really die easily. It's just that her coin power gets reduced if you're Uptie 3. So her full power is Uptie 4, but she's very strong at Uptie 3. And you will get Molar Ishmael with the selected ticket anyway, so I would say just leave the Zwei Ishmael for later, since we already have the Molar bookworks from the selected ticket. Right, moving on to the next one, we can look at someone like Don. Don La Mancha Land is still a pretty damn strong generalist. If we just look at the raw numbers, it's going to be pretty decent. It's like how much? It's 4, 8, 8, 11. This is going to be 6, 12, 16, and this is also going to be a 4, 8, 12, 12 plus 5, 17. And the coin power is basically when the target has bleed, but you get clash power if you have hard blood. But the hard blood is a bit hard to generate because you need to either kill people or you need to be bleeding people. So that's the only issue with this character, but she's still a very strong character. Why? Because she has clashable counter. Clashable counter is really damn strong. Even if you can't win with your skill 1, just use the clashable counter. It will be much stronger than the skill 1. So that's how this character generally works, and she's still okay. It's just that it's pretty high investment character, and you do want to ideally put her with a team. So more generalist focused characters are some people like Cinq Don. Cinq Don, not this one, the one with the glasses. That one's very good. There's also the W Corp Don, who is what I recommend, because Uptie 3, this W Don is basically fully self-sufficient and functional. This character, as long as you use your skill 1 and skill 2 to gain charge count, you can use your skill 3 at 10 charge count to gain 4 coin power on a 5 coin move. I said it before, 5 coins, holy shit, lots of damage. So this is going to be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 31 in total, and you also have a dodge in case your skill 1 can't win, in case your skill 2 can't win, alright? So this is a very powerful character, highly recommended for a lot of the new players. Then we also have the next generalist, which is going to be W Corp Ryoshu. A lot of the Ryoshu IDs are actually not so bad. This one's good for clashing, not good for damage. This one's good for AoE clearing, also not good for single target damage. And this one is a bit of a side grade from W Corp, but W Corp generally usually wins, and Chef is not bad early on, but she kind of falls off later on because of this character over here. Right. So this character, 3 coin, 3 coin, 4 coin, a beautiful lineup and also a dodge skill, and she also gets additional coin power by having charge count, very similar to W Dawn. And her skill tree is also going to roll 31, but the requirement here is only have 7 to 14 charge count. Yes, 7 to 14 because you can get the extra by sacrificing your own HP, and that is not a bad thing because this character wins all of her clashes pretty much, and if she can't win, use ego or use dodge and it will win the fight for you. Right, so this character, one of the best generalist for any player to go and pick up, really one of the best stuff. The next two to talk about is actually Meursault and Gregor. These two I highly recommend skipping as a new player. The reason being is that you only need 6 IDs at the start, so I already gave you like 8 already. You don't actually need to get these 2 characters here. The reason being is that the characters require uptype 4, otherwise they're really hard to use, and they are very specific to certain team comps. Blade Lineage Mentor is specific to Poise, this one is specific to Rupture, but he's pretty damn good. It's just that you need to uptype for him, which is quite a big expenditure. Same for Blade Lineage, also uptype 4 requirement. So I would say go for more budget options like these guys over here, because Meursault without the uptype 4 on these 2 characters is really not that great compared to these guys. At uptype 3, I think some of these will actually be stronger than the uptype 3 versions of these characters here for Meursault. Gregor is the exact same. Gregor has Fire Fist, Priest of La Mancha Land, and the Edgar family heir, and these characters really want to be uptype 4 because at uptype 3 they are basically kind of worse than the other IDs in this game. Gregor is historically known as someone with some really terrible IDs, so a lot of these other characters that you see here are kind of really ass. So really the only good one that is easily accessible for you guys right now is Priest or Fire Fist, of which they are both in the same season, which is right now. Right, but these characters need high investment and preferably a proper team comp to put them in. Of course, you can just copium with the Fire Fist for now, but besides that, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it because the Fire Fist still wants to have a lot of burn in her party, although he can apply it pretty well by himself. So yeah, I mean, you can totally use him for now, it's just that there's better options. Right, next is going to be Outis. Outis, Molar Office Fixer. Actually a pretty good unit at uptype 3 because this character, you use skill 2 and skill 3, you just keep throwing away your skill 1s. This character is a discard mechanic character, so you use your guard skill, your skill 3 or your skill 2 to throw away this skill 1 over here. Every time you throw it away, you gain 4 tremor count. When you get 10 tremor count, your skill 3 gets 2 coin power, and that makes it a 24 rolling skill 3 with 4 coins and 3 coins. So you can see this character, you press win rate, right? It will prioritize using skill 3 and skill 4 for you, and so this character is actually very win rate friendly. You just use skill 2, skill 3, and then you just boom 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 boom, just keep throwing away skill 1s in order to get extra coin power. And then later on, when you get a Tremor team with Cavernous Railing Honglu, you can go and use this character also because she has a lot of Tremor bursts on this skill tree over here. Quite a powerful character and scales pretty well into a Tremor team later on. The best one is actually going to be Butler Outis, but she's not accessible to a lot of players right now, so I can't recommend her yet. Barber, not that great compared to other characters, and Ring Outis is a pretty good damage dealer but not a great clasher. So honestly, Molar Office Fixer is the one that wins out in this team comp over here. Right, so that, and then we move to probably one of the most broken characters in the game, lore-wise, because most of his IDs are really strong IDs, right? Even the base one is actually not bad because he has coin power on the skills, and he also has a dodge. So this character, even the base ID has some usage, right? Kurokumo is good, Hook is good, Dieci is good, Full Stop is good, Ting Tang is good, K-Corp is good, Eurodivi is good. They're all good, right? But the one that most players should probably try to get is Ting Tang because he's actually meta, because you always use him even if he's not on the field, because his passive is straight up one ally with the most SP deals 20% damage with hits. And this means that, right, if you think about it, if you are high SP, you are just rolling hits to do damage, and you're a positive coin character, so you are high SP, right? That means that this gives the highest SP character the ability to hit harder with his already high rolling skills. So this is literally free damage, and it's why he is still used to this day, because this support is free, right? Gambit is really broken, and the skill 1, 2, and 3, this is a 25 rolling coin, by the way. It rolls 30 in total. It can beat Eagles. That's why this character clashing power is actually insane. And this skill 2 has reuse coin, because why not? He also has a dodge. And if you uptie him, I believe your dodge actually becomes even better. You actually get heal 3 SP and whatnot. But you don't need to. At skill uptie 3, he already has his basically full power here. I think he gets a little bit of extra power on skill 1 and on the dodge, but yeah, you don't really need that. You can just use skill 2, skill 3 and dodge and you basically win. This is a 2 plus 14 dodge, by the way. He put even more emphasis on the hit coin. This guy is truly the gambler, right? If you hit the 5, I'm so sorry that you hit the 5 because GG, you just did no damage to the target. But yeah, this character, no matter what, right, will always be a very, very good character for any player in the game. Right, so that's pretty much going to be it, I think. Basically, there's so many options here for the new player, but uptie 3 characters that are really very strong at uptie 3 are going to be some of the highest priority. So this Ting Tang guy, even though he gets stronger at uptie 4, you can totally keep him at uptie 3 if you want. But these characters here, Sinclair, Dieci, your Rabbit Heathcliff here, all of them uptie 3, totally functional already, full power actually. And then after that, you can go into your other characters here where they get minor buffs from their uptie 4, right? So these two characters here, your Molar Office Fixer, you want her uptie 4 because she gets more Tremor Burst, I think. And then this character here, she kind of not really required to uptie 4. There will be a better option here, which is going to be the Zwei Sinclair, which not Zwei Sinclair, so Zwei Ishmael, yeah. She's going to be a very, very powerful unit once you swap to the Zwei Sinclair. But for now, Molar Outis will definitely help carry you all the way through the story. Okay, so that's going to be all of my recommendations. I might have missed a few here and there, or I might have said something wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comment section below. The veterans are all here, they'll just talk about me down there. And after that, I hope that this has helped to answer some of your combat questions and whatnot. So you might be wondering, how am I supposed to progress the story now? Just press win rate. Once you hit chapter 4, chapter 5, you will get stuck. And then once you get stuck, you need to figure out how the game actually works. You can go ahead and watch some walkthroughs or guides, because for chapter 4, chapter 5 in particular, it's very, very a common stuck point. So there are plenty of guides that show you how to solo them with this one and this one. Yep, these two characters can kill many, many bosses where you're stuck at. So don't worry if you get stuck, because these two characters are actually all you need in order to get past the walls. And once you hit chapter 7, that's the part where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? Because that is where the combat totally changes. That's actually where we got a combat rework for the game. So for now, you're just experiencing the old combat. Then once you get to chapter 7, the combat system changes, and then you just need to adapt to the new one. Alright, so that's going to be it, I think, for this video here. Hopefully this has helped you out, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.